You don't know that.
I don't even think we're on... Yeah, we're definitely not friends on Facebook anymore.
That was just like a one-time deal.
Why you gotta talk like that? Why you say it like it's a negative thing?
I'm not saying it like it's a negative thing. I'm saying
it was definitely,
Robbie's written her.
It was definitely like a Robbie
didn't write her into the will. That's for sure.
He doesn't even remember her name.
I do. I remember her name.
Her last name? Well, welcome back to 1010's podcast. We've made it to our 4th episode. And we're actually doing it regularly, which is great. We're getting it out once a week like we said we were going to.
I still really wish we could do 2 a week because I really enjoy doing this.
I'm into it.
2 a week would be sweet, but unfortunately you're the one that lives an hour away.
We'd run out of content really fast.
No, we just get way ahead of ourselves. So we can post it in every week, but we get stuff done faster.
Nobody wants to listen to us twice a week.
Yeah,
no,
I wouldn't listen to this twice a week either. The problem is he lives an hour away. Adam.
Yep.
I'm working on it. Give me some
Michael
time.
and I hang out at least twice a week.
I sold my house for this podcast.
That's
Adam.
not true at all. Don't put that on me. Yeah, I can't leave my house till like June or July. So.
All right. Well, so you're gonna have to deal with 1 a week then, I guess, till Adam sells his house.
Yep.
Which will probably be.
If you want more than 2 a week, let us know. All right, or more than 1 a week.
We have to get some feedback.
You let us know. If someone's like, you know what, I'd listen to both of those twice. You get out there and you tell us that, and we'll do 2 a week.
We'll figure it out. We'll figure out how to make it work. And you can tell us on our Facebook page at 1010's Podcast. You can find us on Twitter at the number 1010's Podcast. What else we got? We got our Instagram.
1010's Podcast.
1010's Podcast. 1010'spodcast.com. And what else we need to talk about? Oh, rating.
Yeah, we need more people to rate us on iTunes, share it with your friends, get it out there, help us out a little bit.
Lots of comments, please.
Yeah, and a couple people we've gotten some great comments on our Facebook page, and we've gotten like 1 or 2 actual reviews on iTunes, which is, I mean, it's huge, because that's really what's going to get it out there is when other people that don't know us look at it and say like, hey, people don't think that this sucks, maybe I'll download it. So
That's what we're after. So no one can see how many downloads we've had, so no one knows if this is really popular or really listened to. So the more ratings we get, the more comments we get, the more likely we are to continue allowing you to listen to this terrible stuff.
Sponsors?
I don't have any sponsors.
I should have had a clip for this. We could have had crickets chirping or something.
Yeah, we still don't have any sponsors.
Chirp, 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 chirp.
So if you want to sponsor us, you can find us on all our media outlets, but we're probably a ways away from that.
Yeah. We are all about heckling your crap. So if you're...
for sure.
Yeah, if you want to give us free stuff, we'll tell everybody how great it is.
I'll stop people on the street and stuff.
I would even accept discounted stuff at this point.
Yes, absolutely.
I don't need it free. I just sell it to me at cost, and I'm going to tell everybody you are the greatest company out there.
Throw me 7 free T-shirts. I'll wear one every day.
There you go. So if you own a company and you're willing to sell us stuff at cost, we will talk about you for at least an hour. We'll do a whole episode.
Adam will wrap his Omni.
Yeah, Adam will wrap his entire
Dude, I
Omni.
am not above wrapping my Omni in anything.
Yeah, we will actually, legitimately, we will put your name on the cars, because we've got 4 cars that we're going to decal up. We'll put your name on the car, for sure.
I'll put it on my daily. I'll put it on Katie's Focus. Whatever.
You can't get cheaper sponsorship or cheaper advertising than this.
It's true.
I'll use it to cover up all my scratches. It'll be perfect.
Michael's been talking about a tattoo.
Yeah, I'll do a tattoo.
Right
across
for the right amount of money, I'll tattoo almost
absolutely.
anything.
Absolutely. The more money you pay, the more visible it is. $1 million might even go on the forehead. You don't know. I'll consider it.
I would do it.
I'll consider
God. That would be the best day ever. But I want like Tampax or someone like that. Just big Tampax logo across Michael's forehead. I would be so happy about
Famous for the absolute wrong reasons.
That'll get us our 15 minutes of fame for sure.
No such thing as bad publicity.
Oh, man. So anyway, today we got a few things we're going to talk about today. We're going to do 1 or 2 topics, and then we're going to stick with this news thing, because this is a thing we're going to try to make work. So we got a few news topics that we're going to run through. But the first one we're going to go through is not nearly as argumentative as the one that we had last time, which was the sweet debate in which I was right about every single car.
Oh, God.
Balls.
We talked about the Dream Car Garage.
We are still arguing about this a week later.
I'm still mad about it.
Why are you mad about it?
Actually, I kind of wish that in a year we should do it again, because I've already picked other cars I wish I would have said.
That's a good point, yeah. Now that we've had a little more time to research it, I bet that we would change our cars. So we may come back to that one.
If I would make my vintage car a 1959 Cadillac convertible, because 16-year-old me, that was the pinnacle of automotive right there.
Well, Chris Austin, who actually rated us on iTunes, so thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
He reminded me of I think it's the 63 Lincoln Continental, which is
suicide doors from the factory.
baller.
That one?
That is a
I
baller
do love
car.
that car.
That thing on bags. Oh my god. It's
Yeah, they're
gorgeous.
good looking.
Isn't that
Gorgeous.
the car that Marilyn Manson had in the Tainted Love video?
Yeah, I think so.
That is.
Could
Yep,
easily
that was
be, I
so
don't
cool.
know.
I think every time I see one of those at Good Guys, I'm like, God damn it, that's a good looking car.
Yeah.
Anytime you have factory suicides on the back, that's a good deal.
Yep.
It's pretty sweet.
And there's not very
Is there
many
still
of
a
those.
pillar then?
No.
Do you know?
Have you seen them as a convertible?
So they don't have
Nothing.
they don't have a B pillar?
No.
Wow. That's
gorgeous.
That's pretty cool.
It's ridiculous.
I really like that.
Yeah. There's not many cars with factory suicide doors. There's the
No.
Roller. There's that car, obviously, the Rolls Royce, and then I'm sure there's probably some stuff from the
Some
40s that we don't even know
obscure
about. Yeah.
stuff that no one wants to know about.
So anyway, that's my Chris Austin shout out. Thanks, Chris, for rating us on iTunes.
For sure.
Yep. You're our favorite.
If you
See,
rate us, yeah,
If you rate us on iTunes and we know who you are, we'll shout you out on the podcast.
absolutely. Why not?
And if we
Why
don't know
not?
you, we'll still shout out.
This
That's
is
fine.
the only thing we can do now because we don't have any sponsors to talk about. So anyway, we were thinking about what we want to do for this show. So we're like, maybe we need to take a step back and talk about why we're here anyway. Because we've kind of talked about the topic of how we got into cars and racing, but we haven't really dove into that. So I guess we're just going to, like I said, take a step back, talk about that, talk about how we got into this, what
Reminisce a little.
stupid things we did as kids, make fun of each other, all that stuff. So is there anybody that wants to tee this off?
I think we should start with Robbie because Michael and I's stories are very similar. And I think
Do
Robbie's
you want
will
to
be-
knock out the two similar ones first, or you want me to go first?
I don't care.
Robbie's might be more interesting, but that's okay.
All right, well,
As long as Robbie's prepared.
I don't really know if it's interesting, but anyways,
We'll make it interesting.
So anyway, Robbie, so I guess a little story before that. Adam and I come from hot rod households, I guess.
Muscle car
yeah,
families.
muscle car families, whereas Robbie doesn't. So Robbie's kind of the oddball in this
He's
case.
the black sheep in his family.
I'm the
Absolutely.
Oh, without a doubt, I'm the farm kid, really.
His dad's a vet. His
No,
brother's a marine biologist or something weird.
No, he's a biomedical engineer now, or he's going to school for that.
God, he's super smart,
smart.
like annoyingly smart.
If we were smart, we'd have more race car money.
Or we'd be smart enough not to have race car
Not
money.
to spend all the money on race cars.
That's not the vibe we want to spin here. Let's not go there.
All right, Robbie, what do you got?
First it was started with motorcycles because my dad had a dirt bike when he was a kid. Thought that we had to have dirt bikes when we were kids. We would we'd go out and ride trails and do that like every Sunday. And then while we were doing that, I was always into like freestyle motocross, stuff like that. And so it's just all motorsports in general. Let's see.
How old were you when you started trail riding?
Gosh, I don't know, 12 maybe? A little older than that?
Is there like a
Because I had a Yamaha TTR 90, and then I outgrew it and then got a 125.
little track around there that or did you go out to a farmhouse or?
It was out by Dune, Iowa. They used to. Now they got bought and closed down. But it was some farm area had all these trails down by the river, and there was mostly just 4-wheelers, but you could take dirt bikes on it. And yeah, so like on a Friday night, of course, it's just full of a bunch of drunk people on their 4-wheelers.
Sounds like a good time.
Obviously,
Why
not
not?
I bet
the
no
time.
one ever got hurt there.
Welcome to small
all the
town
time.
Iowa, people
Yeah.
that are not from here.
Yeah, you guys will never understand.
The only rule was if you meet somebody, you go right. So like you both cut off into the opposite direction, so you don't hit each other.
So when
head
you're
on.
drunk, you just veer to the right.
Hit the tree, don't hit the other person.
Got it.
Yeah,
Yep.
if you're gonna hurt somebody, make it yourself.
Kill yourself.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So we always would
That's
go
fair.
on Sundays after church because that was when no one was there.
Beat the crowd.
Well, yeah, Sundays were always quiet. So yeah, we always did that, and then that led to I remember watching Motorcycle Mania with Jesse James on Discovery Channel, and it's weird to say,
Michael
but like
loves
I
Jesse
love Jesse James.
that just like changed my life. It went from being I want to ride dirt bikes to I want to create just the craziest shit. And it was at the time I had a bike. I didn't even have a moped yet. I was underage, like 12. So then I
I
bought
had a moped. Mopeds were good.
I ended up getting a moped, and then of course I pimped it out and had underglow on that too.
Ball it.
Anyways,
Oh, wait a minute.
Are you serious?
Wait
did
a
you,
minute.
did you really
it
have
was the only one that
underglow on
wasn't
your
blue.
moped?
It was green. I had green underglow.
You had lights on your. Oh,
It was
man.
awesome. We all did.
Dude, how
Oh,
did this
God.
not come up as your worst
Holy
mod?
cow!
Because it was a moped.
That was
Underglow on a moped. I think it counts, absolutely.
Actually, if anything, it's cooler.
no.
I don't think that
not.
it is.
It
It's not
wasn't.
at all.
But yeah, so I watched that Motorcycle Mania, and I still watch that probably once a year. All those, and then that got me into just modifying stuff in general. So like I tried to soup up a bike and made like a chopper bike with long frame and.
Are you talking about like a pedal bike.
Yeah, like a pedal bike. I had with huge, super long forks.
That was a thing though. For
It
a while.
was,
People
for
were,
quite
and
a
I think it
while.
was around that time when Jesse James was, had like 6 TV shows or whatever,
Yeah,
building motorcycles.
Monster Garage and whatnot.
People were like, "I'm gonna make lowrider bikes." A couple of my friends had them.
It's not the worst thing to do. I think it'd be kind of fun.
That's kind of cool.
I don't
Gets you
never really liked
fabricating.
a bike, but it'd be cool.
If you're 12, it's a lot cooler than not.
I would have made a go-kart or something, I guess. But
Yeah, I always wanted to make a go-kart. I had blueprints and all that stuff drawn up, and I'd go to my dad, we should make this. Never. Not once.
get some blueprints out of the back of the Boys Life magazine.
Exactly. That's exactly what I would do.
Make it out of fucking wood,
Yeah,
plywood.
yeah. They had like a hovercraft in there that you use a vacuum cleaner for. A friend of mine bought that plan. Never worked, but
Yeah,
Yep.
I remember
it was
that.
It was a good plan. Yep. So I did that, and then, see.
So-
I'm trying to think how it all kind of spaced together. First, I did the bike and the Jesse James idea of it, so I'm like painting it myself and doing the flames the same way they do it on the show, because I'm like masking it off and cutting it with a razor blade and like
shit, this guy an airbrush.
I remember that.
yeah. So I did that, and then that led to all the stuff I needed to get for the bike. I was getting from like lowrider bike magazines and those catalogs, which led to the lowrider cars.
There's a
So-
lowrider bike magazine?
Yeah.
It's impressive. Probably not anymore, but
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know about now, but
It's
like
probably
you know,
web-based now.
But yeah, so that led to I subscribed to Lowrider magazine when I was like 14. So I was acting like I was big into like the lowriders when I was
straight mini
14.
trucking all the time.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong
No, it
with
was
mini
it was like the
trucking.
64 Impalas. So I was big into that.
Some like 100-spoke golds.
Yeah, do you have some
Yep.
Dayton's?
some knockoffs?
I didn't have that. But anyways, so that led to me wanting to build a show car. Yeah, that's exactly it. Lowrider magazine.
Lowrider magazine is, but that's cars. We're
It's a
talking
legit
lowrider
magazine.
There's a
bike.
lowrider bike magazine too. I think like it's the same people, because lowrider bikes will do
Yeah.
hydraulics
They'll
and
make
like
a-
stereos.
What?
And,
Yeah, they'll
On
make a
bikes?
They'll
Like
make
two-
a
like a two-
car, and then they'll make a bike that's the same theme, and they go
Oh.
together at
yeah,
car
they'll
shows and
gold
stuff.
plate it and do like gold flake in the paint. Like they'll spend $2,000 on this bike's paint job. It's insane.
Wow.
But that led to show
To
cars.
each their own, man.
We need a magazine apparently because you can just spend stupid money on stuff and people will buy your magazine.
That's true. We could tell you that.
Look at Dub.
Yeah, that's a good
Buy
point.
that magazine to just see how stupid people are with their money.
Yeah, pimping out H2s. Anyway,
Yeah. So that led to. I went from bikes. I've always liked motorcycles, but I've always had a really healthy fear of like just I don't know.
crashing into something,
Basically,
ripping your face off.
Yeah, my brother, who's like super calm, bought an R6, and he's gone faster than me, and that still bothers me to this day. He's gone 168 miles an hour, and I've only gone 140, and it bothers
I don't
me.
go that fast on a bike.
Yeah,
Not ever.
Yeah, that sounds absolutely terrifying.
Yep.
A rabbit
I can't
will
believe
end you.
that
he would do that.
that quiet little.
Yeah,
Wow.
and then I haven't. That's the weird thing. So
Step up your game.
I've always been kind of scared of motorcycles. So like I never got into it after I crashed a few times doing dirt bike stuff. And then that led to wanting to do a show car because of the lowrider scene and wanting to have that type of car. But I never was into I like the Impalas, but that wasn't my style. I didn't want to own one of those. So that
Could have made a lowrider 240 and changed the game.
no,
Damn it,
that would have been awful.
Damn it,
That would have been so bad.
Giant gold fleck paint job.
No,
and
but I remember.
Hydraulics, the
yeah,
whole nine yards.
yeah.
But I remember the one thing that really turned me into like race cars and like obviously at first it was show cars was the Super Street magazine where they had the V12 2JZ Top Secret Supra on the cover.
Oh, no.
It was the gold Supra.
I know which one I had that magazine too.
yep,
The
that's-
V12 came. Apparently, they put that in some giant.
No, they fabbed up two JZs together and to make a V12.
Are you sure? Because
Yep.
Toyota had a V12.
No, this was Top Secret fabbed up two JZs together to make one V12. It was
I
just
don't remember that.
it
I
was
guess.
crazy. So then that led to wanting to have some sort of a tuner. Always wanted to do show car stuff, but not to the point where it was like, fountains in my trunk type bullshit.
You didn't want to go the full
Pimp My Ride.
Pimp My Ride
I did
route?
not. I hated that show.
exhibit shows up to your house, does a bunch of crazy shit,
So
takes
if
your
you
car.
if you Google "Pimp My Ride," you can find like these where they're at now type of deals, and the people who had those cars done will like talk about them 2-3 years later, and I mean everyone knew that what they were doing was poorly done at best, but the horror stories, oh my gosh,
I can only imagine.
dude, like I mean, you're talking. They had your car for 8 months, and
then they never fixed the actual problem.
Yeah, stuff was broken. Like that guy with the fish in the wheel. They had like a
what?
Yeah, there was like a little like small aquarium type thing in his center cap or some shit, and that fish like died instantly.
Well, obviously.
Well, of course. It's ridiculous.
Yes.
Just bad stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, that show was. I hated that show because every time they had those people on there, they're always destitute, and they had some reason that they really needed their car. But then they completely fucked their car up. So it was like,
undrivable.
yeah, I like to
No.
take my, I got to take my family to church on the weekend, blah, blah, blah. Completely gut the back of it and put, like a fucking wall in there. I'm like, yeah, that's really helpful. You're really helping these people.
Or the TV under the car. Well, that type of crap.
I was surprised that there was one episode where they put spark plugs in the exhaust and were feeding fuel through it, and they were out shooting flames out of the back. Apparently that was the line for that show because the manager of the shop came in and yelled at him.
Huh.
He said, you can't do that.
I had a friend that did that in high school. He tried to start a telephone pole on fire.
With the exhaust?
Yeah, like he put a spark plug or bought a flamethrower kit or some shit. But it doesn't work. Just so everyone out there knows, like, it takes a lot of flame to start a fire or to start one of those on fire, and your car is not going to pull it off.
What? Why did he want to set a telephone pole?
This is the same kid that shot part of his hand off when he was, quote unquote, cleaning a gun.
Impressive.
I didn't,
Top-notch
I
individual.
shouldn't say he was a friend of mine. He was a
Acquaintance.
fellow classmate.
Fair enough.
Yep.
So when did you buy the 240?
I bought the 240 in 2000. I think I want to say it was either the fall, like late fall of 2006, like December, or it was January of 2007. I can't remember the exact time. I just know that I drove up to Minneapolis. I bought it off eBay, and I didn't meet the reserve, but he said he'd sell it to me for what I paid, what I want it for, if I didn't take the 19-inch rims, which wasn't a problem because I didn't want them anyways.
That had 19s on
It
it?
had 19s on it when I bought it. I can't remember. But yeah, so they put stock steels.
That car wasn't in real good shape, was it?
It was prior salvage, bone stock. It wasn't in great shape. I mean, I could have
Did it
put...
run?
Oh yeah, it ran perfectly fine. I could have put new tires on it and just been completely fine for a while, but obviously that wasn't the goal. So I went up and bought that
Who wants
car.
the KA in there? You gotta get that out.
And it was automatic, which is... my
That was an
lame
automatic car?
sauce.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
converted that to a manual?
Yeah.
That's not fun, is it?
It's easy.
Was it?
They make a kit for it?
Auto to manual is super easy. I don't know what it would be like to go the other direction. I don't know why.
I know with newer cars it's real hard because their
Yeah,
computers
all the
are
sensors
all
and junk,
different and all
but
that
no.
horse shit.
Yeah, I'm like the engine I bought had, I guess this is way down the line too. I went to the SR20, but yeah, that had manual computer, manual transmission. All I need to do is really get like the master cylinder and all that stuff, and
Off you go.
drill a couple holes and put a pedal in, and it really wasn't that bad.
So beware because his clutch pedal is self-mounted. It'll probably fall off someday.
Nah, I did it right. So yeah, I bought that car, and then of course the full intent was to make body kit, full show car, all that stuff.
The hot import night.
The hot import night, obviously. So I bought it and then stripped it down like the first month I had it. Bought that body kit, bought all the other stuff, made it full show, and then after about a year, I got sick of it and wanted to do something more fun with it, and then got into autocross with you guys. That wasn't until like 2013.
Yeah, that was pretty late
I went
in the game.
a bunch of years of college, and then finally that car sat for probably 4 years without really getting any miles on it.
Lots of rollerblading in the middle there.
There was a lot of rollerblading in the middle. Right.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that. You guys are really into rollerblading.
Yeah, not so much anymore. We're getting old and decrepit.
I try to.
But
Joints hurt.
yeah,
It's hard to get out of bed in the morning.
it's amazing how just a couple of years can really change how quickly you bounce back from an injury.
Yep.
But yeah, Robbie and I have been friends for years, and we originally met through rollerblading,
Now you're doing autocross things, racing things.
race car things.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as I started racing and actually doing autocross and that type of stuff, there was no turning back. I mean, that's a whole different game. It's so much more fun. I can't go fast enough.
Heard
I
that.
can't do
you're,
enough.
you're ruined, is what you're saying.
Oh, yeah.
It's ruined your
You
life.
are welcome.
Your life is ruined. You will never have money.
None.
You will never be financially stable.
That's fine.
And you'll always be in pursuit of trying to
Paycheck
go
to
faster.
paycheck. Doesn't matter if those paychecks are $1,000 or $10,000.
Yep.
You are paycheck
Spending
to paycheck.
All of it.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
And my mom should probably not know what my bank account is right now. Yeah, no, I did. I came from a farm family. My dad does embryo transfer work in cows. My grandpa before him was a dairy farmer. I worked on a dairy all through high school, most of college. My brother was a marine biologist, then went on to be a biomedical engineer. And then I was the
Has he
weird
made our
one.
little bears yet? Or little giraffes or whatever it was we were going to make?
He's going to invent pygmy animals.
Yeah, that's our goal.
That's going to be his thing.
Yeah, that's what
that's
we
his
want. Like small, like a 2-foot tall giraffe. Who doesn't want that?
I told him that has to happen. So yeah, I was definitely the odd man out in my family getting into cars because I went to automotive school first. My parents aren't the type to push me anywhere because they obviously wanted what's best for me.
Just good.
But
Encourage your kids to do whatever it is they want to do.
But I said no way.
As
I'm
long as
never
it's
going
cars.
to go to a 4-year college. I'm never going to use anything past a technical degree. And I went to automotive school first because I just love cars. I loved working on them, and then realized I love working on them for myself, not for someone
Not
else.
for other people.
It's a huge difference between playing with cars
Yep.
and working on cars.
Exactly.
Huge difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, so it's just kind of an obscure way of getting to it since I really wasn't influenced besides magazines and TV.
It's cool, though, because, it provides a very different viewpoint of it.
Yeah, because Adam and I have been ruined since birth. Because I'm sure it was the same way for you, but I actually don't know what my first memory is of car things. Unlike Robbie, I'm sure Robbie can, to some extent, pinpoint and say, this is when I turned the corner and this is when I got into cars, because it's been forever for me.
Cars have been literally a part of my life since day one.
Yeah.
I mean, I was a race car for Halloween at one point, and the whole 9 yards.
How were you a race car for Halloween?
So my mom she took like a moving box, and we got like these suspenders that had like checkered flags or something. And so I stood inside the cardboard box, and it hung around my waist, and it was painted to look like my dad's 62 Tempest drag car. And I had like this little plastic helmet that I put on, this race car helmet.
So this is going on the Instagram, right?
If I can find it, it's
All right.
I will post it. I don't know.
I suppose I could try to find some pictures of my my lowrider days because I know there's pictures of me working in the garage. I had like blankets hung up on the walls as like
we could find
as a modified
bike. That
paint
would be
booth.
great.
Oh my
My
god.
my parents were totally on board with this.
His parents were pretty open minded.
Yeah, they let
he
me-
had a skate park in his driveway for a while.
I had a
It was
couple
quite
of
deal.
skate. I had a 6-foot quarter pipe in my driveway, which just completely blocked off one of our garage doors. And it stayed that way for probably 2 years.
That's parenting done right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go Robbie's parents. If you're listening to this, thank you.
Yep.
But
All right,
yeah, so I went to my parents were big into drag racing. I was born in Kansas, and where we were living in Kansas, we had like 6 drag tracks within a 2-hour drive of us, which is really hard to like imagine when you live here, and there's one an hour or so down the road, but then that's it,
Mm-hmm.
And so when it made a lot more sense for my family to have a full dedicated drag car. My dad has had a not street legal drag car from the day I was born till I was 16, 17 years old. I mean, that's always been, so I always blame him for ruining me when it comes to my definition of race car. Because like right now, autocrossing, the big popular class is street touring, and it's just not interesting to me because the idea of bolting on some basic suspension modifications and a cold air intake and going racing, that's not a race car. That's a car you drive around because it's fun. It's not a race car. And I just can't get my head around that. You got to have a roll cage. You got to have tires that aren't legal on the street. You got to have like open header exhaust. That is a race car. So it's my dad's fault, really. But yeah,
I agree with you to some extent.
No, I'm right there with you.
That's not the class for me.
No, it never will be. I'll never build a car that's lower than street prepared.
And I think for me, it's more an issue of there's
Sound
some
interesting.
there's some level of this, your interest reflected in that car. So if you've just got a stock car, to me that's not really interesting because it's not reflective of who you are or what you like.
I could own a car that's my daily driver that is got some street touring feel to it. And when my race car, when my race car is not race ready, it's broken down. I, burned a hole through a piston because I'm running way too much compression and boost at the same time. It'll get me through the next couple weeks, months, whatever it takes for me to fix that car. I can still go and race with my daily if I have to.
Right.
That I have no problem with. But people And I'm not knocking them. I think it's great. I'm glad that you're at least doing it. You know, it's better to get out there and do something than not do it at all. But I can't. It
It's
can't
just
be
not
me.
for you.
It's just
It's
not
okay.
me. So, but anyway, my first drag racing experience, I was 2 weeks old. I was born in June, so it was nice out, you know, and I pretty much, if I wasn't at a drag race, we were at a swap meet, we were at an auction, we were at a car show, we were at something basically every weekend of my entire life. So, you know, when I was growing up, everyone else's families goes to Disney World and Yellowstone. We went to Amarillo, Texas for a drag race. You know, that was what my family did. We owned a camper that had a big block Chevy in it so that it could tow our enclosed trailer, and we went racing. That's what we've always done. At one point in time, we had well over a dozen cars, you know, that were ready to go, drivable cars. My dad's always had, you know, when we lived out on the acreages and stuff like that, we always had a row of junk cars in the pasture.
Yep.
Like, you know, it's not weird to me to pull into somebody's driveway and knock on their door and ask them if they want to sell that car. It's just what I grew up doing. Nobody can load a trailer as fast as my dad and I. You know, when I was 5 years old, I was crawling underneath cars and hooking up ratchet straps for my dad. That's just what I did. So it's kind of weird. But then when I was 8 or 9, I called my dad and asked him a couple of questions about this because I don't remember it real clearly. When I was 8 or 9, my dad had an opportunity to put me in a friend of ours' junior dragster. And I was real apprehensive about it, not real pumped about it, very nervous, frankly. But they talked me into it. They got me strapped into the car. I made a pass. And after that, it was, yeah, we're going to own one of these. I was beyond ecstatic about it. It was a blast. So for those of you who don't know what a junior dragster is, they look like a full-size junior dragster, but they're...
Or a full-size...
Or like a full-size, you know, dragster, a rail, rear-engined. But they're, I don't know if they're half or one-third, probably one-third scale.
Yeah, probably.
And
And they've got 5 horsepower Briggs
they
and
use
Stratton.
a 5-horse Briggs and Stratton. As you get older, you can gradually go faster, and so you can build more power. And they have gotten so out of control now that you can buy what they call a Blockzilla, which is a billet aluminum machined block that resembles a 5-horse Briggs and Stratton, and they run 1/8 mile, not quarter. My first car ran like a mid 12-second 1/8 mile at around like between 50 and 60 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And then we bought a second car when my little sister turned 8, and she started racing with us as well. We bought a second car for me that was a chromoly chassis, so it was significantly lighter than my mild steel car we had before. And it made more power, and that ran a low 10 at between 70 and 75. Which I know doesn't sound real fast, but there's a lot of street cars out there that barely run 10-second 1/8 miles. So.
And when you're 12 years old,
That's fast.
And when you're literally an inch off the ground and you're 12 years old, it's flying. So my motors, they were very, very high compression, probably in the between 10 to 1 to 13 to 1 compression area. We ran full methanol on them. They ran these giant Mikuni carburetors.
you have to tell a story about the spark plug.
Yeah, we blew a spark plug out of the top of one. So if you don't torque them down, they will come right back out. The motors are bolted together with this big griddle that goes on the top and the bottom, and there's big like 1/2-inch studs that run and just sandwich the motor together so that you don't blow it, because if you're running a factory block, that you can separate the head from the top of it because the factory threads are not up to the task. So yeah, they're pretty serious cars. After every pass, you go through and make sure everything's still together, because they ran some serious RPM. I don't remember what, but it was a lot more than what they ran factory, and they would rattle themselves apart.
Those have viscous clutches in them, or they're
like a snowmobile.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so it's just a CVT, I guess, sort of thing.
Yeah.
There's no burning out or anything like that. We'd pull through the water box, and then you'd light them up real quick and stop just to get a little bit of heat going, but they're not going to pour smoke out or anything like that. It wasn't quite that cool. But then, I mean, it was, we always had 10 or 12 people 16 people that showed up with their kids and their juniors, and that's what I grew up doing. Everybody else went and played baseball, played football, whatever. I went to the drag track and raced, and there was just as many girls as there were boys, and I don't know if it'll be a go-kart or a dragster, but I can assure you my kid will be in the same boat.
So you did that. How long, or how old were you when you stopped doing the junior dragster?
I turned 16, and the original intention was for me to go to a door slammer car, because when you turn 16, you can move into real full-size cars.
Yep.
But then skating kind of took over, and stepped away from cars for a few years.
And then at some point you bought the Omni. When was that?
Well, so when I was living here in Ames, a friend of mine that I met in high school or in college doing stereo stuff moved down here. A guy that he works with races at the NQS events in Marshalltown all the time. I had the Audi at the time. Sounded like something interesting to do, so I took the Audi down there and got hooked. And originally the money that bought the Omni was supposed to buy another daily so that I could drive the Audi, which turned out I'm glad I bought the Omni now.
You made the right choice. Sure.
I've had the Omni for about 3 years. I was just cruising Craigslist. Actually, we were at Good Guys talking about Shelby clones, and for some reason I decided to Craigslist search Shelby and see if there were any clones for sale. And that popped up under the Shelby search. And I got a hold of the guy, bought it right then and there. So I've had it for 3 years. It didn't run well when I got it. Wasn't terribly reliable when I first bought it. Figured out there was some electronic issues, fixed those, and it's been nothing but racing since. So
The weird thing is I feel like you stole that thing for what you paid for it.
I paid $2,000 for that car. You couldn't build that car for 10.
I don't know why it was for sale for so long. Didn't you try calling the guy and he wouldn't return your call for a long time, though?
So that wasn't the first time that car had come across our path. About a year or so before that, me and two of my other friends, we had a small shop unit that we were renting. It's a mini warehouse. We were doing car things out of that. We were looking into getting into a lemons and chump thing because we didn't realize the
skipping some steps.
Yeah, we didn't realize the vast amount of effort it takes to run one of those cars at all, let
and
alone
money
competitively.
Still.
Yeah,
even if it is cheap racing, it's still expensive.
It's still $10,000 a race.
Yeah.
The first time you do it.
Yeah, you're throwing in $1,000 each.
We were like, yeah, let's buy a chump car, and a guy that one of my friends work with knows a guy who lives in Gilbert that had the car. He didn't own the car. He had it for the family. He was trying to get it running so that, so they could sell it.
Well, so take a step back. So your car was owned by, guy's name was Bart
Holden.
And he owned it since it was new.
I am second owner.
And he basically built the car and raced it for how many ever years that was.
That car has, I don't remember, it's less than 50,000 miles.
So he bought it new.
He bought it brand new. He drove it, I don't know, not a couple years, my understanding, and then got in an accident with a deer, fixed it. On its test drive to see how it was going, he hit another deer, and it was decided at that point that this car was not meant to be street legal or streeted. And
that was the powers that be telling you.
Yeah, that was like, you know what? No, you're done. This car is going to be.
You did not listen the first time.
This car's going to be towed from place to place now, and ever since then, it's been a full-on race car.
So anyway, it was somewhat, maybe not infamous because it wasn't in a bad way, but people know the car.
It's quite famous locally.
Yeah. And he raced in SCCA for years and years and years, and then he passed away. And when he passed away, obviously went to the family, and then this is where you were picking up. They were trying to get it.
He kind of left the autocross scene because he got into Spec Miata, and that car sat for a dozen years, even though he was alive.
Gotcha.
But they drug it out. Dick Struve had it, trying to get it running for the family again. Dick Struve was Bart's best friend growing up. They were college roommates. Dick has been incredibly instrumental in allowing me to keep that car, get it running, and keep it running. So, but he had it. Josh and Don went and looked at it with the idea of taking it chump racing, and they told us they wouldn't sell it to us for that.
Oh, it's way too nice of a car for that.
They didn't. Yeah. Well, we didn't know what we were looking at.
Yeah.
So then, I think Josh offered them like $1,200 just to buy it, to have it, not to take it racing.
Yeah.
Or chump racing anyway.
Yeah.
And they turned him down, and Dick told him, if you're not going to take money that people are offering you, then I don't want it at my shop. And so they took it and parked it back in the garage again. And then a year later, I found it on Craigslist and bought it. But he wasn't returning my phone calls, so I got Dick Struve's phone number from Josh.
Mm-hmm.
And then I called Dick and got the name or got the phone number for the guy who had it, and called him myself because I was dead set on buying it. So that's how I ended up with it.
Fair enough.
We went and looked at it one day, came back the very next day, and
With cash money.
and took it home.
Did you drive it home?
No, it didn't run reliably.
Oh.
It would start and you could drive it for a little while, but then it would start backfiring and running really weird, and that turned out to be the Unilite chip, and the distributor was shot. But we rented a U-Haul trailer and towed it home behind Don's Jeep.
Fair enough.
So it was a good time. So
like I said earlier, I've been into cars longer than I can ever remember. I know when I think it was around the time that I was born, my dad had a 66 Chevelle 396. They didn't have the original drivetrain for, but he had a Muncie 4-speed and a 454 that he was trying to put in it. And I guess around the time that I was born, he'd been working on this project. He decided to sell it to put air conditioning in the house because they had a baby now, so they felt that they needed to have air conditioning in the house, and he was wrong because that car would be worth a shitload of money now.
could have bought a lot of air conditioners now.
Could have almost bought a house, but, whatever. That's fine.
Depending on what house, you for sure could have bought a house.
They have to live with that decision now. I had no bearing on that.
I think every guy who's been in the car world for 20 or 30 years has that car that, what the fuck was I thinking?
This is why I can't sell anything, because I regret
Something might be
selling
worth something.
Yeah, it might be worth something, or I'm going to regret it after I sell it.
So even my dad has that, because I think it was high school or shortly thereafter, he bought a 67 Chevelle. And I don't know if it was like wrecked, or I know he rebuilt it. I don't know what that means. He never really has ever gotten into
details
of exactly what that entailed. But I mean, it wasn't like a show car or anything like that. It was just his car.
Yeah.
But yeah, he sold that thing too when he got married, and I'm sure today
regret
that'd be
it.
worth.
My dad's got a list. There's 69 Chevelle, there's 70 SS, 454 Monte Carlo, there's Broncos, there's Blazers. It just goes on and on.
My parents made a list once, and they agreed that they would only count the car if both of them remembered owning that specific one and quit counting after they were well into the hundreds.
So this is why I won't sell anything.
Because, when our parents were our age, my dad could go and buy a 67 Firebird that didn't run, didn't have a motor in it for a case of beer,
Right.
And then he would strip it down, take all the parts off of it that are worth anything, and he'd take them to swap meets. My dad's car habit was self-sufficient. It funded itself for a long time.
Yeah.
When I was little.
There's too much information on the internet now. You can't do that anymore.
No, it's too hard to do that. But I'm going to try and bring it back.
So that's probably the earliest memory I have. I don't remember the 454 Chevelle or the Monte Carlo, but apparently that was around that same time too. But always into cars, had different cars. My dad bought that 70 GMC pickup from that guy in Indianola that he did a job for.
The one you have now?
The one we have now.
So you've had that for quite a while?
I've had that for 15 years, maybe more. So he did a job for that guy at his house because my dad's an electrician, and the guy had the truck sitting there. And he had an original Airstream too, so he had that truck and an original Airstream. And I think
he should have got the Airstream.
They wanted a bunch of money for that.
Yeah, they're not cheap.
Yeah, at the time that was way more valuable than the truck. This is kind of before these C10, C20 trucks blew up. But he asked him at the time if he would sell it, and the guy said, "I'll sell that truck." Or he said, "No, I will never sell that truck in my lifetime." He said that truck will leave this house when I die. So couple months later, my dad's driving around that same neighborhood, and he sees that truck's for sale, and he's like, "Oh shit, Jerry died." So he felt obligated.
That's not funny, but wow.
No, but that's what happened. So he felt obligated to buy the truck, so he bought that truck. That truck's got 86,000 miles on it. It's basically 100% original, other than at some point it had a little fender damage, and Jerry had it repaired. But I guess at some point he added AC and power steering and all that fun stuff to it, because apparently Jerry was a masochist and didn't have any AC, no power steering, no power brakes.
Man after my own heart.
It's essentially a 3-speed, even though it has 4 speeds, because the first gear's like 10 to 1 or
totally
something.
Useless.
Yeah. So it's in no creature comforts at all, but it's
like
pretty cool.
My dad's Scout. the first gear, if you have it in 4-wheel low and you have it in first gear, it was specifically designed so that you could get out of the truck and help push yourself out if you're stuck. It's that slow.
So then after that, when I think I was about 12 or 13, I remember I was in middle school and I got called out of class to call my mom in the principal's office. I was like, oh, fuck, this isn't, well, when you're 12, you don't say, oh, fuck, this is bad. But that's essentially what it was.
Yeah.
Somebody died.
Somebody died. So I go into the principal's office and, call my mom and sitting there in front of the secretary talking on the phone. And my mom's like, yeah, we found you a 79 Camaro Z28. Do you want to come look at this tonight? And I'm like sitting there, I'm like, the assistant's like staring at me on the phone, wondering if I'm going to break into tears because somebody died. And I'm like, oh, yeah,
anytime
sure.
that happens,
right?
She knows it's going to end poorly.
Right. And I'm like, yep, sounds good. Thanks, Mom. So I was super pumped that day. The rest of the day at school, I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm getting a Camaro.
You've had that car since you were 12?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
I mean, I knew you've had it a
impressive.
long time, but...
Yep. Yeah, I had it since I was 12. I remember we went on the test drive, and this dude, the people we bought it from were real salt of the earth, type of people. The guy that bought it, he apparently drove it home, and he drove it like 50 miles with an engine knock and just completely destroyed the motor that was in it. So it's got some truck motor in it now, but I remember at the time when you're 12 years old and you're in a muscle car that's got blown out glass packs in it, you might as well be in a fucking, Lamborghini. It's
it
the
could be
fastest
anything.
thing.
It is the world's fastest car.
It's the fastest thing in the entire world. My dad taking it up to $3,000 was enough to make me nervous, but I was like, dude, I can't believe that we're buying this right now.
I remember driving around in my dad's muscle cars that by today's,
Slow.
They weren't that. I mean, my dad's always had some pretty hopped up cars, but yeah, they are the world's fastest thing.
You're pretty sure you're in a fucking spaceship at that point.
Yeah.
So anyway, we brought that home. I kind of wanted to enjoy it for a while. I mean, obviously I wasn't going to drive it, but I wanted to be driven around in it, or at least learn to drive in it. And my dad had other plans apparently, which involved taking the 14 layers of paint and Bondo off of it. So for 3 years of my, middle school, high school, adolescent life was spent grinding layers and layers and layers and layers and layers of paint off of that car and then doing body work and repainting it. So that took 3 years. So when I turned 16 years old, it was about the same time I turned 16, I got the keys to that car with fresh paint on it. And when you're a 16-year-old and you have a 79 Camaro that looks like that, that's like the greatest feeling in the entire world.
There's not a single girl in that high school that wouldn't want to ride with you.
Right, absolutely. That was the chick magnet in high school.
Whether that's true or not.
Please tell me you took full advantage of that.
In my mind, it was true.
Yeah.
Oh, I did, absolutely. Absolutely.
Constantly.
Girls like it. Girls like a bright blue vintage car. They're into it. They don't
Or
know what it
Cadillac
is.
Lambo doors.
Oh,
they love those
basically-
things.
basically the same thing.
Disagree. Completely disagree. So that was that, and then cars came and went. My dad and I have bought and sold cars, much to my chagrin. Actually, I don't think we sold much. We mainly just bought cars because
You sold the coupe.
Sold the coupe. Oh yeah, I'm bummed about that. We still even have it, and I'm bummed about it. So we bought it. We drove down to, where did we go? Oklahoma City, to buy a '68 Fiat coupe, which is a pretty rare car, at least in the U.S. anyway. And he decided he was tired of looking at it, so he sold it. And I'm not super.
I kind of
about
wish
it.
that we would have got a chance to do just once to do what we had talked about last summer when the Spider broke down.
Oh, swap
And
it.
that was take all of the performance parts, the suspension, all that stuff off of the Spider and put it on the coupe. And because the coupe is very funky looking.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. It's got the world's biggest greenhouse on it. Like the windows are
Yeah,
huge.
it's crazy.
You can see everything.
There's no
'cause-
such thing as a blind spot. It's quite a deal.
The A pillar's about 2 inches thick. I mean, they were not concerned about you rolling that car over. They didn't care.
So much death if you got in an accident.
Yeah, so you could see all the way around you. It was so cool. But so he sold it, but for some reason we're storing it. So we got paid for it, and we still have it.
Yes,
Crossing fingers he never comes to get
I know.
it.
I need to go see it. I was in your shop and I still didn't. We
Yeah,
didn't open
it was
that
in a
part of it.
trailer
Yeah, oh.
or off
No,
to
it's
the
on
side.
your-
Yeah, it's
on your
in
side one.
cold storage. So, but it's pretty cool. So at some point, the whole Fiat thing started because when I don't even know what age it was. It was probably around the same time as the Camaro. Robert, who you guys know, who's actually Chris's dad.
Yep.
Second shout out for Chris. He pulled this, I think it was an '80 Fiat Spider out of a field because old hot rodders.
How long did they make the Fiat?
From
that Spider?
1968 to 1983, I think.
That's a really long run.
Because Fiat made it for a while, and then Fiat got bored with making it, so Pininfarina made it for like 5 years or something.
That's really cool.
Kind of bizarre. So anyway, we pulled, we're old hot rodders, so we're like, this is weird, right? We should we should just see what this
Put
is.
a big block in it.
Yeah, for
and,
sure. You
and,
can small block swap
yeah.
this, right? Absolutely. So we pulled it out, and my dad got it running, and I'm pretty sure that that's the car I learned to drive a manual transmission on, was that 80 Fiat. And then we sold it, and obviously I regretted it after they sold. I had no bearing on that decision, but I was bummed about it. After
Real
they sold
assholes
it.
to not
Yeah,
ask
they
you
should-
whether or not you wanted
I
to
should
keep
have asked
it.
the 12 or 13-year-old if I wanted to keep the Spider. So that was always,
I've been there too many times.
niggling in the back of my mind. So then at some point when I was in college, my dad and I were talking about doing autocross, and he had done one in a 442, which sounds like the worst time ever. Comically rolling over and,
Scraping door handles.
scraping door handles and just clouds of smoke. And he said it was terrible.
They make
and-
so much torque. I can't imagine that went well.
yeah, and it was a convertible.
Because you come out of a corner and you push the gas to the floor with that giant motor they put in there, because they're really wide V's, so they make a ton of torque.
Yeah.
Boy, I bet it just lights them up.
Yeah. 500 foot-pounds of torque, just a bunch of smoke, and it
Sounds like a good time.
he said it was
I would've had a
terrible.
lot of
He
fun.
said it was terrible.
But it was awesome at the same time.
So it was like, let's not build your Camaro into an autocross car. Let's pick another small car to look at. So kind of wanted a CRX, but those are worth a fortune apparently. Good
Yeah,
ones.
it's
Good
weird.
ones. Super expensive CRXs. If you're looking for one and you're planning on spending $1,000, which is what I thought you could get one for,
Don't even bother.
don't bother. And they're probably just getting more valuable.
Any CRX that's for sale for $1,000 is not the CRX you want.
Nope. Yeah, it's a rusted out piece of shit. So I would still have this Fiat thing in my mind. So, secretly we're talking about other cars, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, I want another Fiat. I want a
Fiat.
For sure want another
Fiat
Fiat.
for life.
Yeah, for sure.
He's got it tattooed across his back.
So I found one that for $500 that was a basket case, but the guy had repainted it very poorly. It was like his first restoration project, and at least it had paint on it and no rust. That was what I was concerned about. I was like, I don't give a shit what the body looks like. It's a race car. If it's all there and it's not going to fall apart, I can work with that because we can put shit together. That's not a big deal. And all the parts were there. So we put that together in 6 weeks, and it had 185 65 13s on it or something like that.
Huge tires.
Just super narrow bicycle tires on it. We took that shit out after working on it for 6 weeks and autocrossed it, and I ruined those tires the first time I was out there. But it was
Where?
I think it was at Marshalltown.
Oh, on the track?
I think it was, yeah. Slowest fucking time anybody's ever done at Marshalltown.
But it was the greatest
It was the
time
greatest
ever.
time ever. Again, it's that same thing when you're in a muscle car and you're a kid. I was out there, Chuck Yeager, right on the edge of the fucking sonic barrier.
You and Ayrton Senna are
the same
essentially the
person.
same guy for that 2.5 minutes.
So after that, I was completely hooked, and it's all downhill from there.
So I have a kind of a similar story to your Camaro, but it didn't end like your Camaro did. My dad, since day one, has been a Pontiac fanatic, and we had a 62 Pontiac Tempest that we had turned into a tube chassis drag car. And by we, I mean him, because I had nothing to do with it.
Yours there.
Because I was tiny. But
In spirit.
But Tempests were kind of like the Fiat, where they existed, they were a thing, but no one really cares about them today, except for like a few diehard people. And so when you have one, next thing you know, you have 3 or 4 or
You have to.
8.
You take on this responsibility of being the guy that rescues them.
Yeah, you get a phone call from a buddy, and he's like, yeah, I was, re-roofing this guy's house, and he's got a 62 Tempest in his barn, and, well, now you're obligated to go and
You
get
have
it.
to go get it.
Yeah.
Because nobody else is going to save the car, so you have to go get it.
So when I was 13 or 14 years old, someone had gotten a hold of my dad, or my dad, I don't know how he found it, but he had found a 62 Tempest convertible in a barn, and the guy wanted to knock the barn down and turn it into a hog confinement. And he's like, you got a truck and trailer? Come get it. I just want it out of my yard. I got a title. It's yours.
Oh,
Even better.
that's perfect.
Yeah. So it was mostly complete. The engine was there. The drivetrain was there. The body was relatively solid, but it wasn't going anywhere. I mean, it was a complete rebuild. It did not run. It did not drive. It didn't do any of that stuff. So, my dad and I struck up the agreement that if it was running by the day I turned 16, it would be mine.
Did he
But it
sabotage
needed,
it?
but it needed a full-on restoration. But so we restored it. My dad rebuilt the engine. I did a bunch of the body work. My dad horse traded some work with a friend of his to get it painted. Painted it baby blue. It had a full white interior. It looked fantastic. Real nice looking car.
God, you could have put fucking hydraulics on that.
But
Could have been hanging out with Robbie.
No, because so it had
lowrider stuff
I had the
together.
slant 4 in it. Those have a transaxle and what's called a torque tube.
Oh yeah, the 68 Fiat has a torque tube.
Really?
It's a cool car, yeah.
For those of you who have no idea what a torque tube is, which would be Robbie,
Probably, yeah.
and a bunch of other people, basically everyone listening to this, a torque tube is, at least in the Tempest's case, was basically a very large diameter speedometer cable ran inside of a tube. And that came off the output of the motor and ran all the way back to the transaxle in the back. So the problem was, when you had this cable instead of a solid drive shaft, if you backed up really quickly or spun out on ice or anything less than ideal, that cable could come unraveled inside of that tube and you're done. It's game. That's it. But we had the car running, we had the body finished, the car was painted, most of it was put back together. It had a power top that we had gotten working. My dad had bought a brand new top. We had the whole interior reupholstered, and I was like 15 and 8 months old, and the car just needed like 15, 16 hours worth of work put into putting the interior back in it, and it would have been done, and skating had bitten hard at that point, and I never finished it. I mean,
wow.
Literally, it ran. It could have been driven. It just needed the interior put back in it, and I never did it. And so when the day after I turned 16, my dad was like, "Well, fuck you," and he put the interior back together and he drove it places. And I did get to drive it a couple times. I got to take a girlfriend out when I was in college with it once or twice. It ran out of gas. That was a bad night.
Obviously wasn't Katie. That girl bailed.
Yeah, she did. That didn't last long.
Not a trooper.
But yeah, I had that car too, where my parents bought it for me, and we were gonna fix it up, and it was gonna become my first car when I turned 16. Except that I didn't finish it. So, and my dad has given me shit for it ever since, and
As he should.
he'll probably listen to this and finally hear it. But I am really sad that I never finished it. I've never told him that. So, Dad, when you listen to this and you call me and give me shit for it, I had it coming.
Yeah.
That's a good story. What do you say we do the news?
Yeah, we can do the news.
I'm down.
All right. So we've got first thing we got on the news is there are no less than 75 Top Gear hosts apparently been announced this week.
Somewhere between 75 and 80.
Yeah, we don't know for sure because we can't get them.
No,
all
they keep adding to
We
it.
can't get them lined up at the same time to count them. So I do have a list of who these actually are. The first one is Chris Harris,
Which is my favorite car guy on the internet today.
Yep, I would agree with that.
agree.
Do you watch much Chris Harris, Robbie?
A few. I haven't seen near as many as you guys, but yeah, I've watched
I love
a
him.
handful of his stuff.
He's so good.
He's
And just
he's
recent-
like Jeremy Clarkson in the fact that he likes to drift about and do stuff like that, but I think he's better at it than Jeremy
He
was.
is. I think I would go on record of saying he's the best automotive journalist in the world.
Today, for sure.
Yep, absolutely.
And I do like the fact that he's been banned of reviewing Ferrari and Lamborghini.
Yeah.
Nah, he's back.
Yeah.
He's back
He can
to
do
it.
Ferrari, but apparently there's no official.
He said something to Lamborghini a couple of years ago, and they're still angry about it.
If you haven't read the, he wrote an article, I believe, on Jalopnik.
Yeah,
and
it's on Jalopnik.
ripped Ferrari.
how
quite a few
how
years
Ferrari
ago.
spins is what
Quite a
it's
few years ago. If you've never read it, go out and find it and read it because it's an interesting point of view, and he really rips on Ferrari, and they said no more for him for a while.
called. Yeah, they banned him for 2 years.
And I
But they're
think
talking about how, you know, if you're gonna track test a car, a Ferrari of theirs, they want to know what track you're gonna bring it to, and they go out and they lap it and they
Tune it for that track.
tune
Yep.
it for that track, and
Yep.
I'm with him on that. They shouldn't be doing that.
No.
So then we have Eddie Jordan.
I don't know who this guy
I am
is.
all on board for him.
So
Who is Eddie Jordan?
and I'm not, but you go ahead. You tell everybody who he is.
Well, I guess don't know a lot of his history, but the little bit that I have looked up, and he is huge in Formula One. He's managed teams. He's done analyst or what's
Yeah, he was
whatever you
he
wanna-
was an analyst for BBC.
yeah, whatever you want to
Formula
call
One.
call
Like
the talking heads
like
for
a
Formula
presenter?
One.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he used to own Jordan Grand Prix, which was a Formula One team, and that was for like 15 years or something like that.
Yeah, so
Has he driven?
history, I don't think so. Oh yeah, he did some early years, like 1970s.
Okay,
Sounds to
well,
me like he's just kind
I
of
think
an
that
owner.
would be kind of a fun point of view. I don't hate
I like
him.
his point of view, and he'd kind of be like the back in my day type of guy.
I love that.
So I think I'm okay with him being on board. Like, I've
you know
narrowed
who they're
down to,
trying to reproduce? Tiff Needell.
Yeah, probably.
That's what they're trying to do.
Which maybe they should have just.
Because
started
wasn't
him.
he on Top Gear 100 years ago?
Yeah, before they revamped it in 2002, he was. I mean, I think he was really the driving force of the original Top Gear. And for you youngins out there, there's one that exists before Jeremy Clarkson, or well, not before Jeremy Clarkson. I guess before Richard Hammond, because Jeremy Clarkson was on the original one too. And there's one season of Jeremy Clarkson and Richard Hammond Top Gear that James May's not on.
Yep. He sounds like an all right guy.
I'm okay with him.
Okay with him.
I really am.
All right, I'll reserve my judgment on him.
No, I want
Having
to hear. I want to hear
Having
both
never
sides of this.
seen him do anything, I've never heard him talk. He might be a pompous jackass, but he's got the resume to be all right.
My thing was I don't know how I feel about professional drivers on the Top Gear format.
But you like Sabine.
I like her, but I don't know about her on Top Gear.
Okay.
I don't know how I feel about that yet.
You like Tiff? Who doesn't like Tiff? Everyone likes Tiff.
But Tiff is a really, really good presenter. Like the whole theory behind the new Top Gear, I think, was they have the Stig, which is the racing driver that doesn't speak because racing drivers have nothing important to say, and they're not good presenters. And that was the whole point of having, because they needed that, but they didn't want to have an actual racing driver be a presenter because they're boring. That was the whole theory there. Obviously, that's broad brushstroke.
To me, it sounds like they were too lazy to find an interesting race car driver like Tiff Needell.
I think he had another TV show by then. So
Yeah, Fifth Gear.
He was a little tied up. So Sabine, again, I don't know. We'll see how that. We'll see how that turns out.
She did so when they did the German versus UK Top Gear episode.
Yeah.
I enjoyed her. She was fun. I've seen some others. She. When they did the Nürburgring lap with the Jag, and then when she raced it in the van, she was fun,
screaming. And
just like she was into it.
Yeah, she was super.
Get out of my way!
And I'm sure having her on is actually going to bring in a whole different realm of audience. Like not to say that they have a problem bringing in an audience.
So I have a theory about why they've chosen all these people, and these people are from different cultural walks, let's say.
Yes.
I think this is the whole BBC
They're
kind
trying to appeal to a broader...
spreading it out a little bit. We need to be,
Because 350 million people wasn't a broad enough spectrum.
Watching, 3 white middle-aged guys.
Well, I'm sure they're worried about losing everybody. I mean, you lose your 3.
They are going to lose everybody.
Right.
But yeah,
so they're grasping at straws here with...
Fair point. Yeah, if we can just spread it out so we got people from all different walks of life, maybe more people will be interested in it, or we can pull in different people so that we don't lose our audience completely.
I'll still watch it because it's a car show, and I like watching car shows. That's why I watch Top Gear US. I still think it's a good show, and everyone rips on it.
I might. I'll probably watch it. I'll probably watch it because it has Chris Harris and Matt LeBlanc on it.
Speaking of, we'll bring him up next.
Which Robbie wasn't so sure of.
I like Matt LeBlanc.
Here's how it started.
So many Friends things.
I saw it announced. I'm like, that's stupid.
It seems weird at first if you don't know.
Yep.
If you've never seen him do star in a reasonably priced car, and you just you'd be like, no, I'm not into him. But he was really good on the show. He's really fast, apparently.
Yeah, so
he's a genuine car guy.
Yeah. So they posted the thing that said Matt LeBlanc. I'm like, that's dumb. And then I kind of took a step back and I'm like, okay, maybe he's a car guy. It works. People like him. And then now they came out with, they have 6 presenters. So now I'm back on the, I don't want him on the fucking show.
Why?
Because you got the resume of like Chris Harris, Eddie Jordan, you got Sabine. You really don't need 6 people.
He's not the one I'd get rid of.
Yeah, he's definitely.
I would get rid of 2.
But he's not one of the 2 I'd get rid of.
Okay, so let's
either.
go through the next 2, and then we'll talk about who we're going to fire.
These last 2 are the ones
actually, I'd get rid of 3 actually.
I'd probably get rid of 3 too, but okay. So the next one, Rory Reid.
I've never heard of this guy. I don't know who he is.
So I did some Googling, and apparently he's an editor-in-chief of some tech website who also does car shit.
Yeah, it's what's it called?
That's terrible.
It's
Rakambu.
Yeah, there it is.
I don't want to be a part of that.
Nope, don't really want to be a part of that. He's done some radio presenting on cars or on BBC or something like that, which is kind of boring. He has his own YouTube channel where he reviews cars, I guess.
And he
kind
does
of like Chris Harris.
Yeah, he does it in a format just like Top Gear. Like the way he presents the cars, even the way that his videographer does it.
So
it basically mimics the way Top Gear does.
I kind of don't like it when people make that comparison and then say it's wrong, because how else are you going to?
No,
do
I'm not
it?
saying it's wrong. A
lot of people rip on like when Chris Harris was just by himself with Chris Harris on Cars and he was on YouTube. People would rip on him and be like, "Oh, this is just as well be Top Gear." Well, how else are you going to do it? There's only so many ways to present a car in an entertaining way on the internet.
Right. And my point to that was that I think he got it because he's already got that format built in. He's going to present in the exact way they want him to.
Well, supposedly he just sent sent a video on the internet to the BBC, and that's how he got that gig.
Yeah,
like, they didn't even know.
So he's like a techie guy then?
Apparently,
Like,
yeah.
is he going to be hacking my YouTube channel and stuff like that?
I don't know.
So is he going to like tell me how awesome the Tesla is because its graphical interface is like an Apple?
Probably. He's that guy that's going to represent tech.
I don't want to listen to that.
Oh.
Yeah, that's boring. Then we have, unfortunately, we have Chris Evans.
Oh, I hate Chris
My
Evans.
least favorite.
Least favorite. So we've talked about Chris Evans. There's too many Chris's on this
Too
show.
many
first.
Well, that alone, we need to get rid of Evans.
That in itself
Yeah.
means we need to get rid of him. He's a morning talk show
He's a talking
DJ.
head.
Yeah,
he's a
that's
talking
what
head.
he does. He does what we do, but not about cars. And he has $50 million net worth or something like that.
He's got a bunch of high-dollar Ferraris he probably doesn't drive.
But yeah, basically, he's a car enthusiast. I would not trust his judgment on a car, really.
Well, there's been videos or articles all over the internet of him, stepping out of cars and throwing up because Shabin's driving too fast.
God, that just makes me so happy.
Yep.
And I guess he crashed a car. I don't know. I didn't look
Yeah, I
that
saw
up.
that.
So anyway, I don't know why they chose him first. I really don't get, other than he was already on the BBC payroll, but it seems weird to me.
Yeah, I don't like that. I don't think anything he's going to bring to the table is going to be value added to the automotive enthusiast.
I think they just needed a center presenter. This is the guy that's going to bring all this in together.
I think the other Chris would have done a better job with that.
Without a doubt.
I think so too. So who are we firing? Obviously Chris Evans.
Chris Evans,
you're out.
Rory Reed.
I think I'm getting rid of this Rory guy.
He can
And
go back
I'd get
to
rid of
YouTube.
Matt LeBlanc.
No, I'd keep Matt.
I really want Matt LeBlanc.
I'd keep Matt.
I don't think he has enough to add.
Here's
got
here's what I would say, which would be a lot of fun.
He's going to bring in those middle-aged cougars because he's
I'm not against
Yeah,
that.
that guy.
What about some, light flirting banter between him and, Sabine? That's you could sell that. You could sell that for sure.
We got to get some sleuts in here.
Yeah.
I'm all for sleuts, but I'd rather just have him bring in the sleuts.
Nah,
Get rid of Matt
I'd get rid
LeBlanc.
of Eddie Jordan.
No, I think he has more to add. I really do.
But it's an entertainment show. It's not a.
It's an educational show. I mean, don't get it wrong.
Yeah, remember?
It
They
might-
did a whole thing about if they want to be here in the United States, they have to be here for educational purposes.
Yes, it was a purely educational TV
I wasn't
show.
entertained by that episode at all.
I wasn't
just
either.
learned things.
So anyway, I guess we're in disagreement. Robbie's wrong, but we're gonna
I'm
get
not
rid of Eddie Jordan.
Man, he's so...
I know.
You can have your opinion, but it's
Moving
still wrong.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Yep.
What else we got? Tesla didn't announce. The Model 3 is coming out, which we knew. It's going to be about $35,000, which we knew. It's their entry
But they're
level.
way out on it yet, aren't they?
Oh,
like
yeah,
2
I would
years.
think so. Well,
2 years.
the other issue is that Tesla's just not doing so hot in general. I mean, stock price is
their
taking a beating.
last month or whatever, first quarter of this year has done really well.
They
bounced back. I guess
They wanted to sell 1 million cars in the United States last year, electric cars, not just Tesla, but that's what the government was expecting. Was that
really?
1 million of us in America would buy electric only
This
vehicles?
is one of those proclamations they made 10 years ago. By
Not
2016,
even 10,
there's going to be.
but 3 years or 2 years ago. It was within the last election cycle.
Oh yeah, okay.
And we barely made that globally.
Yeah, I'm not surprised because I think Tesla only sold 60,000. I mean, only is a relative term.
I think that's right.
60,000 more cars than we sold.
Yeah,
but
yeah, we were trying really hard, but we're not doing as well as Tesla. So I don't know. That's not particularly remarkable news. The thing that I thought was interesting was I think Elon kind of qualified that car slightly and said, don't expect P85D levels of tech and
of insanity
and stuff like
Well,
that.
it's a $30,000 car. It's supposed to be the car that for the people.
Right, but I think he's setting some expectations slightly because I think people are going to be like, I can get this is what I expect a Tesla to be, and now I can get it at $35,000, and he's going, pump the brakes.
It's whoa.
It's not. You're not going to get a Model S.
It's not going to happen.
This is going to be a better looking Nissan Leaf,
basically.
Yeah, absolutely. Or Bolt, Chevy Bolt. Not Volt.
The Bolt is the plug-in. The Volt is like a Prius.
I didn't even know there was a difference.
Yeah, it's newish.
The Bolt doesn't look at all like the Volt.
We're not very
I've
good.
never seen one of them.
I'm going to be honest. We're probably not very good at electric car news. So it's not really our thing. But
there is.
I hate them.
There's one of those.
I hate 'em
there's
so
one of
bad.
those Cadillac rebodied Volts.
ERVs or something. I don't know. It's not what it is, but
Something like that.
Yeah.
There's one in Ames.
yeah.
It's the only one I've ever seen.
So my issue with the car, I guess, is that I don't.
This is electric cars in general.
Yeah, we're not.
isn't
Well,
it?
I guess entry-level electric cars. The issue is that obviously we know the infrastructure doesn't exist to the point where there's one on every corner like there is gas stations. But my concern is more, okay, so you're making an entry-level car. It's going to be $35,000. It's going to have like $8,000 worth of incentives. So now you're in to a group of people like us that maybe aren't as into cars, but maybe we want an electric car, or we think it's a great design, or whatever it is. We want to buy one.
I know a lot of people who own the Prius or a TDI or something like that gets real high gas mileage, but wish that they could own a Tesla.
But now it creates a problem because there's a couple issues here. First was when I had my house, I couldn't plug a car into my garage because first of all, there's no 240 volt out there,
Yeah, I have 20 amp service into my garage. I can't run an air compressor,
and
let alone charge a car.
In addition to that, the city of Ames said that if I was going to make any alterations to my panel, I had to pull in a 200 amp service into my house, which it's a 1,200 square foot house. It was built in 1910. I don't know why that's necessary. But so now we're looking at...
Because any time that you remodel or update any structure, you have to bring it up to current codes. And that's what the city requires. If you knocked your house down and built a new one today, that's what they require. Therefore, if you do any renovations that require you to pull a permit, which that would require, you have to bring it up to current code.
200 amps, though, in a small house is not necessary. So
I agree, but that's the rule.
So that means then you got to trench from the connection point in the street or wherever it was, bring in 200 amps, and then I got to trench a new line out to my garage and put 240 volt in my garage. What's that going to cost me? $10,000?
You know a guy, and it's cost prohibitive.
Right. So I'm not buying in that case, I wasn't buying a Tesla. Now that I'm renting again, I'm not going to modify my rental.
It's very unlikely that your landlord will allow you to put a charging station in your house.
Well, they do have the plug-in for the regular outlet.
But I heard
But
that takes
like
forever.
Yeah, it
Yeah, I
takes
don't know that-
legitimately 8 hours to do anything.
Yeah, I don't.
So
That's not acceptable.
No, absolutely not.
I don't think that's going to work either. And you can get those fast chargers, but I guess those things cost a fortune.
Well, yeah.
And even then, the Teslas, the one they advertise as being super fast, will charge their Model S from 0 to full in 40 minutes. But yeah, you're paying gobs of money for it.
And you got to have 240 volt.
Yeah, exactly.
Which we don't have 240
minutes
volt
is
there.
still
That's a long time.
most of the time would be acceptable, but there are times where that would still be annoying.
So that's my hang-up with it is I think people are probably going to get in trouble because they're going to buy one or they're going to pre-order one and they're not going to figure out any of that shit, and then all of a sudden they're going to have to put in, thousands of dollars worth of electrical work to make that come together. I'm the only person that would think of that because my dad's an electrician. But
that's the thing is that's the stuff that no one's talked about.
yeah,
These are the things, like, you look at an electric car, oh, these are great, these electric cars, you don't have to buy gas, you just charge it while you're sleeping. But nobody's thought about the fact that it's not
is an
that
issue.
simple.
no, and it's not as everyday as a normal petrol-powered car because the infrastructure does not exist yet. We're not, even just from a construction standpoint, we're not set up for that type of charging yet.
If every single person in West Des Moines had an electric-powered car, the city's power grid would not support it. It would bring it to its knees. There would be rolling power outages for large periods of time until they got it sorted out. And there's only one way to sort that out: money. And that money's got to come from somewhere, which means it's going to come out of your pocketbook because they're going to bump up your property taxes. They're going to bump up this. They're going to bump up that. They're going to figure out ways to make that money back because it doesn't just go away.
Right.
So
that's a good point. The other issue is that if we don't buy gas, we don't pay road tax anymore. And gasoline, even if it's $1.50 a gallon, only really costs about 60 cents because the rest of it's road tax.
Yeah. That's why we noticed when we were in Nebraska last weekend, or 2 weekends ago now, that gas was way cheaper there. But then we realized, oh yeah, their road tax or their gas tax is much less than ours.
Right. So that money's going to have to come from somewhere too. So
that is an issue that they've addressed too. They've talked about if you own an electric car, you have to pay more in registration fees or something like that because they got to get that money from you somehow.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's fair.
I would rather pay for it in my gas little by little, week after week, than having a $1,500 registration fee or whatever.
Yeah, so if you take all the gas you pay for in a year and you take it times 60% and you tack that onto your registration, that's going to hurt in June or whenever it comes up.
Yeah, that would suck.
Yeah, I don't want to do that.
I'd much rather pay it little by little and not even realize it's happening.
Yeah. And
or they'll just tack it onto they'll raise your electric rate. I suppose that would accomplish the same thing. They could put the gas tax on your electric bill instead.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's going to hurt you more then because right now the only thing you're doing with gas is putting it in your car and your lawnmower and your snowblower. You do everything with electricity.
Yep. And so if you go to a charging point, say your company or whatever has a charging point, now they're paying tax on your electricity.
Which means that they're going to take it out of your paycheck.
So, anyway, I'm not saying I'm opposed to it. I'm just saying that I think
there's a lot of logistics that need sorted out first.
We need to think about these and have these conversations before we just pre-order our Model 3s.
Right. And those are problems no one talks about.
My biggest hang-up is even your best one is only going to get 200-mile range. So, like, if you're not driving it to and from work, you can't use it.
How do we go to Lincoln, Nebraska?
You're not driving it to Lincoln. Like, Alex Roy drove one across the country. That was a lot more challenging than would have been in any other vehicle.
Well, the interesting thing about that is that he was all the way down in Oklahoma and realized he wasn't going to make it to the next point, so he drove up to West Des Moines. Right. I don't know if it was Oklahoma, but it was somewhere really far out of the way.
Well,
because we have a charging station
at the Hy-Vee or something.
You go on ChargePoint.com. There's 26,000 charge points in the United States.
22,000 of them are in California.
it's actually a lot more. Like if you're in Montana or up in like Utah, there is none. Like there's one in the entire state. But like you get around here, you kind of look at it and go, okay, well there's 7 or so. As I got pulled up, I don't know, there's 7 in Des Moines. But then you can narrow it down by connector type. There's 5 different connectors. Why the fuck are there 5 different connectors?
Yeah, that's the same thing they did with they tried to do with the USB, where they standardize it.
It goes back to like the iPhone charger versus the Samsung charger. Why? Why is there different chargers? If we're going to try to make this work, you can't have different chargers.
Apple's planning on making a car, and you can bet your ass it will be a proprietary
It's going to be
cable.
a giant lightning cable.
I guarantee you it will be proprietary.
So I don't know. That was all on that. EPA. I don't really have anything else to say about that, I guess.
Nothing new yet.
I wrote a piece that I'm hoping comes out. Should be out by the time this comes out. So I'll share a little bit more about that. I've done some research and learned some things and have some things that have some opinions that I want to share on that on our blog on 10tenspodcast.com. And
we'll share it on the Facebook and the Instagram and the Twitter when it comes out. So don't worry.
Yeah, we'll leave that alone for now because I feel like that's been beat to death.
Go and read it. Follow whatever links there probably will be posted in it.
There will be links for sure.
Do whatever those links tell you to do. Let's try and fix this.
Sergio Marconi, who is the CEO of Fiat, lost his mind apparently and told Motorsport.com, I think, that Alfa Romeo's going back to F1.
And like they're not just like gonna, because right now they have a sticker on the Ferrari car,
which is so stupid.
Yeah, he wants, not only does he want a Alfa car, but he wants an Alfa power plant
engine. Yeah,
which is gobs of. He must have a stack of cash that no one knows about somewhere.
Well, I read some theories on that. They think, or the internet thinks that maybe they could pull some money off of Jeep and Ram, which those brands make tons of money because Jeep hasn't had an engineer in their fleet for 40 years. It's the same cars.
Yeah, they just sell the same thing, or they rebody a Fiat and make it worse.
Yep, and Ram for some reason people are hell bent because gas prices are so cheap on buying giant trucks that they can't afford. So
which aren't electric.
And
for a good reason.
Yes.
And they seem to be able to charge whatever they want for them.
Yeah, because you need an $80,000 truck, don't you?
I need to be able to pull 10,000 pounds at any point in my day.
But I also want to be as comfortable as I would be if I were in my Rolls Royce.
Right, so I want to spend no less than $70,000 on a pickup.
Out of control. I can't believe it.
If you come to me with
blows
something
my
with cloth
mind.
seats, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
I
want heated and cooled steering wheel and the whole 9 yards.
So anyway, the bent on my thing about luxury trucks, we won't go there because
That's
makes
another
me
topic for
angry.
another day.
But I think it's an interesting idea. I thought maybe I saw a figure of half a
Are they
billion.
going to put a Dodge Ram emblem on a Formula One car? Because they are advertising to the very wrong crowd.
No, I think that was just a theory of where Fiat could get the money, but Marconi seems to be going crazy, maybe, because he killed off, we talked about this.
He's killing compact Dodge cars.
Yeah, he got rid of the 200 and the Dart, and when we went to the Chicago Auto Show last year, we all agreed, everybody that was there agreed that the Chrysler 200 with the 3.6-liter V6 and the 77-speed gearbox or whatever it has in it, and all-wheel drive for $28,000 was the surprise of the auto show. We're like, wow, this is a nice car.
That's probably the only time that group of people has agreed on an automotive thing.
Yeah, we got Subaru guys, we got V8 guys, and we're like, this is surprised, very surprised.
Literally, the only thing you guys have ever agreed on is fancy water.
Fancy water, and the Chrysler 200 being a car that was much better than we expected. So I don't know if that just means that. But Chrysler didn't advertise it correctly, or what? And I like the Dart too.
Small cars are dead. We got too many Robbies.
It's Robbie's fault. It's Robbie's fault.
Oh, jeez.
People are buying crossovers like Robbie.
They're so wonderful though.
But if FCA is going to go after a Formula One venture, maybe they shouldn't be killing off small cars.
Well, they already have a Formula One team, which is confusing.
It's called Ferrari.
It's called Ferrari, and they've been doing it longer than anybody in the entire world.
And that's what they exist for, is their Formula One effort.
So, I in theory, I like the idea, because I like this idea of Alfa Romeo racing. I think it's
I would love,
I'm
but
all for that.
I'd rather them build an LMP car or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, right now there's only 3 manufacturers in LMP. I'd much rather see them in there.
Yeah, and it's much, much cheaper, which sounds ridiculous.
And
but
it's way more
it's cheaper.
interesting because Formula One is dumb. Now,
Yeah.
I'm not interested in it.
No, I don't really
I'm hoping
care.
the new rule changes change that.
Yeah, I
next
know
year.
the rule changes make things look a lot better, but LMP is just so much more interesting.
Yeah,
to me.
I would agree. I think so too. There's lots of racing that they could do. They could do British Touring Car Championship with the new Giulia. I don't know
Yeah,
if
they
you know
could
anything
do.
about that.
They could. I bet you they could build a GT3
Oh yeah, absolutely.
spec 4C and put it in some smaller, lower level class, racing against Miatas or something like that. That would be cool. I would love to see that. That'd be awesome.
So if Sergio Marconi's listening to this podcast in Italy, smoking a cigarette, having lunch, I would urge you to please stop trying to pursue 2 Formula One teams, which is just asinine.
So much money.
Oh yeah,
Well, it's got to be in the billions, doesn't it?
has to be.
I thought
Annually?
I thought I saw at least $500 million, but it's got to be more than that.
Well, I mean,
Start from the ground up. Yeah.
All right, got
I
any
can't
other
believe
news?
Ferrari can pay for it, let alone
Because
2.
they sell carbon fiber keychains for $2,000 a piece.
and they're worth it.
That just blows my mind that a company like that can exist in today's market and make as much money as they do.
Probably doesn't hurt selling a LaFerrari. I'm sure that they had a pretty thick margin in those.
Yeah,
You really think they did, though? And they didn't sell that many.
Yeah, I extremely doubt that they would sell that car at a loss because they don't have to.
They sold the Veyron at a loss.
Well, that's
They're not
VW,
Ferrari.
and they can't do shit. They can't make sensors.
they're-
They can't
they're
make electronics. They're cheaters.
All right, I suppose.
Got any other news, Robbie?
No, that's it. We
I
got
got to
it.
talk about the TRD RAV.
Nah, although I'm all for it.
Let's not get too excited
Yeah.
until we see
tell
what it
me
is.
about the TRD Rev.
I really,
I read the article. Whatever Toyota's bigwig is, it's some Japanese name I can't remember. But he's a huge car guy, and he wants to see more interesting vehicles coming out of Toyota.
Good for him.
We're all about.
Props to him.
Here at 1010s. We're all about that. And we're not just talking appearance packages. I want a supercharged RAV with Raptor style.
Well, it's
suspension.
I don't know if
travel.
it's still the case, but they always had the same engine as like the Celicas and everything else. So, I mean, it would not be difficult to make a performance package for it.
Yeah, but he went on record by saying that he would like to do something like they've done with the Tacoma with the RAV. But no one knows.
The TRD Tacoma that came out last week that was kind of, it's like a mini Raptor.
It's like a mini Raptor and is a bad machine. It looks really cool.
Looking
pretty
truck.
cool.
I really like it. Truck.
Apparently Toyota has a rallied RAV already, but it runs a stock drivetrain. It just has like long travel suspension on it, and I haven't seen it, but it sounds really cool.
It's pretty.
But
neat.
no one knows if it's really no one knows if it's really going to happen. B, if it does happen, no one knows if it's just an appearance package like Dodge teased with the GLH Dart,
or the Corolla
or if it's
S.
going to be a real like TRD with a blower on it or something like that.
Well, they gave us an STI edition. Essentially, it was them. I know it was Subaru, but they teased us with that stupid STI edition BRZ FT86 Toyota Scion thing, and it was a letdown.
Yes.
There's one of those at the auto show, so I expect a full report on how lame it is next week.
The STI edition?
Yeah, I've seen a couple pictures of it on random groups and stuff.
I haven't done any research on the what's at the Chicago Auto Show yet.
There is an STI 86 there, so I expect a full report on how crappy and lame it is.
They usually bring a modified one with them, or somebody does. That's a lot more interesting. But
Does it make 210 horsepower instead?
it was like 300, which really is not enough.
No,
I don't agree. I think 300 is plenty for a factory car.
Oh no, these were full blown modified, tube.
Well, but that's where it should have started. Like the 250 to 300 range is where that car should have been.
Agree.
This is another thing we don't need to talk about.
Yeah, we aren't a huge supporter of that car. We'll put it that way.
No.
And end on that note. You can find us at 1010s Podcast basically everywhere. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Adam won't let us get a Periscope or a Snapchat.
Nope.
So
I don't know what Periscope is,
Periscope's
but I don't know that I
Snapchat's
want to be a part of
not
that.
really
and I
part
don't
of
want to
this.
see everyone's dick, so we don't need Snapchat.
no dick pics on Snapchat.
suit yourself.
You know that, if we got 10 pictures from people, one of them would be boobies and 9 of them would be dicks.
Yeah, there's 100%.
There's
chance.
no cars.
And that's not a good enough ratio for me to, I love looking at boobies as much as the next guy, but that's not enough boobies for me to want a Snapchat.
Yeah.
Fair enough. 1010spodcast.com. Find us, rate us. Please leave us some feedback. You want to hear something, let us know. You don't want to hear anything anymore, let us know. We're really just looking for feedback.
Topic suggestion would be nice. Like something that maybe we're not thinking of.
Yeah, topic suggestion. One other thing I think we want to start doing is interviews. So I know every group of car guys has that old guy that they know who's super interesting. Let us know about that guy. We want to come and talk to him.
Yeah. If you think you got somebody interesting for us to interview, let us know.
Yep. Yeah, the one thing I'm super interested in that I cannot find enough information on is the Des Moines Grand Prix.
Oh, yeah, that's a good shout out.
If you know anything about the Des Moines Grand Prix, reach out to us because I want to hear about it.
Yeah, we definitely want to do some research and do an actual full show on the Des Moines Grand Prix.
I know some people. We're going to work on that one.
Yep, that would be amazing.
That's coming down the pipe, I'm sure.
Yeah, so look forward to that. So, all right, guys, I think that's it for today. Thanks for listening in, and we'll catch you next week.
Bye.